Well, Christy, thank you so much for being on Connecting the Dots. We are so excited to learn from you. This was one of the most requested topics from viewers after listening to season 1. So I know this is going to be a really popular episode. But before we dive into all the juiciness, we'd like to start our episodes off with an icebreaker. So what is something that you're currently reading, watching, or listening to?
Oh, okay. I feel like I have 3 different things. I'm one of those overachievers that I like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this.
I love it.
So I'm watching House of Dragon.
Yes.
And the Fellowship of the Ring. So I get wait every Friday for the new episodes to drop, and then Sunday. So those important days for me. And then listening is Bible in a Year podcast. So I drop my kids off to school, and then when they're out of the car, I put my earbuds on. Then I listen to an episode of Bible in a Year podcast. And then reading is I just started actually just reading it last night. It's Michael Hyatt's. I have his full focus planners, and it came with a habit changing, or the power of habits, I think is the title of the book. It's really, really interesting. It's one of those things that, okay, I'll read this book so I can get sleepy and go to bed. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I can't go to bed now.
No, I've heard great things about that book. I didn't realize he has planners too. But
oh yeah, I started with the planner, and the planner is it's 3 months. So you're not overwhelmed, and then like daily you're supposed to it's been helpful for me, and I stopped for a while and now I feel lost. So I got it again.
Sounds like something that I need.
Yeah, on your list for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your health journey and how that led you to where you are today?
So I'm Cristy Murray, and I live in Alaska. I feel like that's really cool detail to tell everyone. I'm actually a transplant in Alaska. My family's from California, and I moved here. So I'm a nurse practitioner and a mom of 2. But before I got to where I am, it's a long road. I started as a medic in the military, and then I got away from the medical field because when I was deployed, I saw a lot of destruction and other stuff, and I felt like I wanted to help a different way. So when I got out, I became social worker or in that kind of field. And then the call to be in the medical field was always there. So then as I was working, I started taking classes again to go back to nursing. So nursing school, and then in my master's. So between then, I was trying to get pregnant. And I was like 30 something. Everything was normal. I have my cycles every month. So I didn't expect any hiccups.
Yeah.
And it was not happening. So because of my experience and my personality, I just like dug. And I kept my own file. I kept my own medical records. I have like my own medical file at home, and I still have it on my lab work and all the research. And this was about 18 years ago when internet was slow. I think it was the time of dial-up. It was slow, and then you almost have to print everything. So I have that file, and I just immersed myself in it. So I was able to, if I don't like what I'm hearing or what I'm getting from one provider, it's not that they're not competent, that's their specialty. So I would go look for someone else. Like, well, what if this is it? So in the end, I had this whole team of professionals, like they have their different specialties. I had my OBGYN, and then I had my acupuncturist, and I had my naturopath. And it was really amazing just to hear different perspectives. So then I was able to just really, it was an eye-opener, because it's not just about your cycles. It really is more what's going on inside you and your experience from the get-go, like even back to your childhood, your mindset and what makes you think a certain way, what makes you decide to do certain things. and then even the house that you grew up in, because you are a accumulation of everything that you've done and everywhere you've been in. So yeah, I was not a nurse when I was trying to get pregnant. And then, yeah, definitely, thankfully, after 3 years of infertility, I got pregnant. And then I decided to go back to school. So then there goes the whole working mom, raising a family.
Doing it all.
Yes.
That's a really inspiring. And I wrote down that you had a naturopath, an OBGYN, and an acupuncturist, because I feel like in our modern society, people either put you in the like alternative medicine category or the conventional medicine. And I really appreciate how you're like, I utilized all of it. Like, I appreciated the different perspectives, the advice, the opinions, and saw value in both. And I think that's something that Melissa and I feel really strongly about. And I think sometimes from our end, it can come off like we're such like alternative medicine hardos, because that's where we feel like needs a voice, because conventional medicine is, you know, conventional. But in the heart of it, we're just like you, of like, there's so much value and benefit and knowledge in both. And so I just love how that's part of your story. That's part of who you are. And that's, you know, what inevitably led you to having two amazing kids. And would love to ask you like just a little bit more about that. I know that on your website, you have called yourself an infertility survivor. I love that. And I'm so happy for you. But can you tell us a little bit more about that journey and the steps that you took with your team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the journey. It's a really, really painful journey. And I think because of how I am, I've always wanted to help people. I'm a natural helper. And I think it's driven a lot of my choices in my career, because I went social work. I wanted to help people. And now as a nurse practitioner, I'm taking a lot more deep dives into functional medicine just to learn more, because there's many ways to skin a cat. And I always tell my friends this, it's like, if you can't get it one way, well, maybe there's a different way. It's not wrong. You just have to change your approach. It's just, and like I said, about 18, 20 years ago, when infertility is almost like a scarlet letter, women don't even admit that they're having a hard time, or to the point where like, nope, we're not even trying. We don't want kids. But then deep down inside, you know, we're hurting. Because, and then you don't have that support system. Like I said, you're suffering in silence, you're suffering in secret. You're so in tune to your body to where you're just keeping track of everything, every symptom, every cramp, every spot. So you get your cycle and it's like, okay, is this implantation spotting or is it my period? So then it comes full blown, and it's almost like a monthly predictable heartbreak. And then in the meantime, while you're dealing with that in silence, and no one really understands you except you, your husband, as much as they're there for you, they're not females and they want to be there for you, but they really don't understand. Like my husband would say, why are you paying for all these stuff? Why you keep going, doing this and doing that? And I was like, well, and I actually even said, because I'm broken, I need to fix myself. And for me, it's not okay that I just sit there and wallow in pain and say, oh, I'm just broken. There's nothing I can do about it. So, and that's why I want to encourage everyone. It's not feel defeated, because it is defeating. You know, do your research, take care of yourself, take care of your body, and take care of your mind, and just keep going. And if the answer is, it could be you're not ready to be a mom right now, maybe someday, or maybe your child will come from somewhere else. If you don't birth that child, the child will come from your heart. And I have heard a lot of stories from a lot of my friends and people, like in general, that once they stop trying, they're like going to another country to pick up the baby that they're going to adopt, and they come back pregnant. So now they have 2 kids. And it's really hard for people it's hard to hear when people say, just relax, just calm down, you get pregnant once you relax. It's like, no, you don't know what I'm going through. So you can't tell me to relax. And I mean, in general, when people tell you to relax, you don't relax, you don't calm down. So yeah, so that's the monthly pain, and then just doing the research. So it's like peeling an onion. I go to one professional, and I think I was less than 30. The criteria is different. So if you're less than 30, you have to try for a year for Western medicine to start doing all the testing. And then if you're over 30 or over 35, then it's 6 months of trying. Then they'll trigger. But nowadays, it's your advanced maternal age at like 35. So for me back then, even at 29, I did not want to wait and just hope for the best. So yeah, just peeling the onion, that's what I was told by my OBGYN. And then I went to a naturopath, and she opened up this whole, just don't want to even say can of worms, because it's really enlightening what she did. She went back to my history and being in the military, and just giving me all these resources. I got the idea to go to an acupuncturist because of her. So then toxins actually played a role in how my body was having difficulty. So she got me tested for heavy metals, and one of them was off the roof. So then I got the process of, it's called chelation, when it's an IV infusion, and you drink a certain mixture for like a day or two to loosen up the heavy metals, and then you go for infusion, and then you excrete everything out. So many sessions of that. And back then it was not covered by insurance. I don't know if it's covered now, but I was just like happy to find some type of answer to get that done. So I got that, and then everything else started balancing out. My thyroid, and then the diet piece, just knowing, because I was pretty healthy at being in the military. I was active. Yes, I like sugar and I like carbs, but but I'm not really like drinking alcohol every night or smoking. I mean, fairly healthy. So for things not to happen as they should when you're doing all the right things, it's really frustrating and heartbreaking. And in the meantime, everyone else around you is getting pregnant. So that was my process. And then it was still not happening. And so interestingly enough, yes, so many testings, actually, not conventional testing, and then going to acupuncturist. And I think I even went to a person, that's something called a Maya womb massage.
Cool.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't go to Peru for this. So this is too much. So I found a practitioner where I live that was doing that. So I was covered. I got my acupuncture to balance my meridians. So really it's the whole team. And then, so 3 years of that, and nothing was happening. And we were ready to do the IVF route. So this is actually a pretty cool story. We were ready to do the IVF route, and we were like, okay, we're done. We're going to take a break. We're going to go. So, and my family lived in California. There was no IVF specialist here in Alaska. So you really have to go out of state. So we went to California for vacation to have an appointment with the IVF doc. And it was just me. My husband was working, so he was just on speakerphone. And the first question he asked me was, when is your cycle? And I said, oh, it's this week. And he said, well, you haven't had your cycle. I said, it's coming. It always comes. It never fails. It will come. It's a promise. It will come. And he said, well, we need a urine sample first. We need a pregnancy test before we do this appointment. I said, I will give you the sample after this appointment because I flew all the way from Alaska. My husband's on the phone. We will do this appointment, and I will give you a urine sample. And he said, yes, yeah, fine. But can you just go now? I'm like, fine, I'll see if I can. So I gave him a sample and then we started talking. So he gave me his protocol, his schedule and everything. And we were really ready to jump into it. And before the end of this appointment, someone came in his office and handed him a piece of paper. And he said, well, I don't think we're going to do this anymore because you're pregnant. And I was like, no, that's not true. And then there was another patient I saw her walking in the hallway. She had dark hair. She, I think the sun is, she had dark hair and she was about my size. And I said, you switched our urine. That's hers. She's the one who's pregnant. Then I was in denial because I didn't want to get my hopes up too much because I've been disappointed so many times. I don't want to just fall again.
Yeah. And
he said, no, it's you're pregnant now. And I said, and I still didn't believe it. And I said, okay, well, I want, this is me being like anal retentive at that point. I said, well, I want HCG blood draws every day and I want to see it rise. So he was like, yeah, like a good doctor practicing the art of medicine. He said, fine, we'll draw your labs. You can draw it tomorrow and we can follow it to healthy levels. I said, okay. And then, yeah, so that was my first pregnancy.
That is such a good story. Oh my gosh, I got chills.
Yeah, literally got chills. That's amazing.
And it's interesting because my response was so different. Your girls' response are different. And then when I told my husband, his response was, oh my gosh, we saved $20,000. Can't you just be happy that we got pregnant? Naturally, we didn't have to. Yes, we saved, but can your brain just go to the happiness that we have right now?
Typical.
Exactly, right?
That's amazing. That is so amazing. It's such a great story. And I think it's so fascinating, the whole journey too, that you were saying, like once you finally got the answer of like, okay, there's heavy metals and the testing. And then after you started healing that, everything started to fall into place. I think that's huge, that one thing can really throw off the whole balance of your body. But I think a lot of people struggle with is finding the answers and finding those tests. And like someone I always hear on Instagram says, like, if you're not testing, you're guessing. And it's really hard to figure out what tests are right for you. So I think that's awesome that you're able to figure that out on your own and be your own advocate there.
Exactly. And that's why I want to encourage everyone, be your own advocate, keep asking questions. And if you're told like, you're not ovulating, then why am I not ovulating? That's why I love functional medicine, because it goes down to the root cause and it just doesn't stop with one blood work. Yeah,
no, definitely. Something we did see on your website was that your faith is very important to you. So I'm curious how your faith helped kind of carry you through this journey with your trouble conceiving and through the ups and downs of motherhood. And if there's anything else that maybe helped support you on this path.
Yeah, definitely. So we're Catholics, and of course, any help, we're asking everyone to pray for us. And then one of my aunts told me there's this monastery in Santa Barbara, California, that they're all nuns and they'll pray for you. So every year, it's like we'd make a pilgrimage there. We'd go over there, we'd meet the nuns, and we'd tell them our story. They'd pray for us, and it's I might get emotional. I kind of formed a bond with them. I mean, like, I don't know, like, specific sister, but every time they write to me, I just feel like a certain grace coming to me. Because they'd write to you. You leave them your name, and then you send, if you're not there, you just write to them, okay, here's my journey. I'm still, not pregnant. Can you please keep praying? And then they'll write back. They'll send you a handwritten letter. We're still praying for you. We hope you, get pregnant soon. And sorry. So they sent me a little like prayer pamphlet it's Saint Colette, and then in that pamphlet it had a little pendant of Saint Colette. Saint Colette is apparently the patron saint of women trying to get pregnant, which I did not know until they sent me this, because her parents were at an older age when they conceived her, and then she was born. So I wore this pendant, and like 2 or 3 months after I started wearing it is when I got pregnant. And then after my son was born, a few months after that, I lost the pendant. So I was really sad, like, oh my gosh, I lost it. What if I needed to get pregnant again for my second child? I want more children, right? But then, and my parents always told me that if you lose something, don't be sad, because someone else might need it. Someone else needs it more than you, and it could help someone else. And that's how I got through it, because I'm thinking, well, maybe another woman needs to get pregnant, and maybe she'll see that pendant and it will help her, and then we'll just pass it along to every woman. So yeah, that was like, and I always knew every time I pray, it's hard. And they said when your prayers are not answered, there's just two options. The answer is wait, or no, because there's something better for you. And I just always latched on to that. I'm always like, okay, I'm waiting. I keep waiting. I'm going to be patient. And I know this is going to happen whenever, you feel like it's the best time for everyone, and it's the best time for me. So yeah, and then now that since my first child was born, it almost felt like the memories of pain and everything was a distant past. It's like, oh, it never happened, because now I have this beautiful child. But the passion inside me and the longing to help other women, because it was so painful, it was so heartbreaking. I don't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
So then I just always, I guess, continue to help. I'm always just an advocate and giving voice to women who either can't find the answers or just need some support.
It's so awesome. And I love that you were able to, one, turn your pain into purpose, and not only like find solutions for you, but then, as you just said, like, okay, now I want to help others, not have to go through all of this. So I would love to ask, so you were becoming a nurse practitioner before, during your pregnancy, and then how did you decide that you wanted to focus on helping women with infertility and, build your business?
Mm-hmm. So right now I work in women's health, which is awesome. So now I really am exposed to, like, women come to me for infertility, and I just love, it's like one of my best appointments. And that's like in my full-time job as a nurse practitioner. But before I got to where I am right now, that's when I decided to do the online health coaching to help women get their bodies healthy for fertility. It's different, and I really have to be careful with it as well, because I'm a licensed professional. So online, I'm not their provider. I'm not a provider. I have that education, but my role is to support you and help identify it's not that what you're not getting in clinic. It's because when you see your OBGYN, you see your doctor, they focus on your physical and like, what's wrong? Let's fix this. But then when you leave that, you're kind of like, you don't do anything until your next visit. So what happens between then? Who's going to talk to you about your diet? Who's going to be your cheerleader when times get rough? And it's like, where's your map? What's your homework? What's, how many times are you going to exercise, and what kind of exercise is right for you and your type? And you think about, and I get asked a lot about what kind of supplements should I take? Yes, there's a lot of generic supplements that's good for everyone. But then now in the age of genetic testing and functional testing, are you just wasting your money on that supplements? Or do you need something else that you don't know your body needs until you get tested? And that's what I'm really, really focusing on with the online health coaching.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think it is rough when you do have like practitioners that you only see for these short appointments. And then it's like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, how can I start doing things that'll bring me closer to my goals? Like you're saying. So it's amazing that you give them that support. So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about like how your approach to infertility might differ from other nurse practitioners or functional wellness coaches in that area.
So for online health coaching, it's a really intensive intake that I do. Like the intake that was done for me that helped me starting from your habits, what you eat, and the house that you're up in, because I really address, well, maybe you have a toxin overload, and then we'll find out what toxins are preventing your body from functioning as it should. And then it's a lot more functional testing. So then we identify what's nutritious foods are good for you. Because, just an example, like blueberries, grapes, it's good for everyone. But for some people, it spikes their blood sugar. So they can't just keep eating that all the time. So just really knowing, and it's gathering data. I'm helping them gather data, and then I'm helping them work with the data that they get. Because you don't know what you don't know. There's this thing that we say, test, don't guess. And just because it's good for everyone else, oh, oatmeal's good. It has, it's high fiber. But then for some people, oatmeal spikes their blood sugar. And unless you just have a log and know what foods really spike you, you're going to keep spiking in the background and you think you're eating healthy. So yeah, really being a health detective, just helping them uncover what's going on from their habits to, if they tell me, well, I can't sleep. It's not a matter of like, take some melatonin or, take some lavender. Then I go deeper with them, like, why can't you sleep? What's bothering you? What are you doing before you go to sleep? And what are you doing all day that's causing you to have a hard time going to sleep at night? I'm actually just starting to shift and building my program to where there's more support. So then the first thing I do is do the functional testing with them after the intake. And then I have a team of nutritionists and a health coach. So they're never alone once they see me. It's not like, okay, here you see me, there's your DYI and contact me through email. No, I think it's the support that matters for people. I mean, like even when, when you buy things, yes, there's cheaper things that you can get, but then after you get it, okay, that's it. But if you invest a little bit more for like an expensive purse for all women, we can talk about purses and shoes.
Oh yeah.
You buy, a really nice expensive purse and you're holding back like, well, that's really expensive. But then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, but there's a good guarantee to this or a warranty and they have good support and you feel good about your purchase. And investing in your health is more than just a purchase. It's an investment. It's, like I said, it's not just about one visit. There's a lot more going on in the background. And it's really, yes, if like even me, I have a health coach. I have my nutritionist and I meet with her every month. And yes, I can say, I know how to do this and because I went to school for it, but it's different when it's yourself and just having someone to help you through that, not holding your hand, just being accountable for, or a partner. And that's what it is. It's a partnership. It's not someone, telling you what to do, that you should do this and you should do that if you want this. No, it's a partnership. Like, let's find out what works for you. And then let's move you through that. So then you're closer to your goal. You may not get pregnant, but your body is getting ready to, and you're getting healthier. So then it's a chain reaction that your mind is like getting closer. Because, you know, when we get really uptight when we want something, we want it now, and we want like a magic pill, a quick fix to it. And it's really hard to accept the fact that I have to start somewhere and it's okay to move slow. And 60% progress is better than the zero that I was not getting before, doing everything on my own and just feeling sorry for myself. So I don't want anyone to feel sorry for themselves. Always, you know, and I when I was going to school, and my son was 1 when I went back to nursing school, and I was working as well. So it was really hard. And there were times that I would just cry, like, why am I doing this? I can't do this. And then I would look at the clock and I'd say, okay, I only have 1 minute to cry because I have homework to do. Because I have to wake up at a certain time. So I timed myself. After that, I'm like, okay, brush it off. Now let's get back to business and move forward from there.
Yeah, you have to give yourself that grace, but at the same time, like I said earlier, like you're such a perfect example of turning that pain into purpose. And it's like, yes, I'm going through this. This is so much, or I went through all of this, but it's for a reason. We've got to keep committing to these goals, but we also need to acknowledge that this is hard and I'm only a person. And I love that, you know, something that really stood out to me at the start of our interview when you were just saying how at the beginning, you know, it's like women were just suffering in silence. And I'm sure that's still true for a lot of women today. And so I love that you're offering a team, like one that you curated for yourself, and are showing people like, I'm here for you. I am going to help you figure out your body, your root cause, or just, you know, be someone to lean on, and also give you other people and other tools that you might need, because that is, I would say, like even more than half the battle. I can totally resonate too of like, I just graduated nutrition school. I'm now a nutritionist, but like I had one this year and I worked with one because yeah, you can know the right things, but feeling like someone is there with you and walking with you through that, and that you're not just alone and you're not just like residing on pure willpower. Like you're like, this is just me. I need to do this. And like, but having that, like you said, that accountability piece and that person holding space for you and just not feeling alone is so important. And so I'm just really grateful that you offer that to so many women, because infertility has been an issue for a while, but is, I think, really starting to come to the surface and being something that is talked more about, and people are, you know, searching for answers. So I'm very grateful for you. And something else that stuck out to me that I really wanted to ask you about is you were saying something that you look for when you're working with your clients is are food spiking your blood sugar. And that's something for me. I started seeing a nutritionist for gut and skin issues, and blood sugar was a hot topic. Same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm eating fruits and vegetables all day. I was vegan for a little bit. So really, truly was. And they were like, okay, well, you're not getting protein or enough fats and your blood sugar is insane. This is part of the reason why you're having issues. So I knew about that in the context of my own health concerns, but I hadn't really heard about blood sugar and fertility. So could you touch on the role that blood sugar plays on fertility?
Yeah, so there's a condition called PCOS. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome. And it's, so there's 3 criteria for it, and you only have to meet 2 to be diagnosed with it. So one is when you get an ultrasound and they see these cysts in your ovaries, hence the name polycystic. Not everyone has that. So then the second one is, why am I blanking out? The second one is hyperandrogenism. So like having like high testosterone, you're having all this extra hair and acne, oily skin. And then the next one is and ovulation. So meaning if you're skipping your cycles, or if you're like bleeding for months straight, or like in my case, I mean, I was having cycles every month, and I didn't really know about testing monthly to see if I ovulated. I mean, you could ovulate, but not strong enough, so then it's not a good egg. There's like, pregnancy is, it's a miracle. There's so many things that have to go perfect for you to get pregnant. It's truly a miracle and a gift. So if you meet any of two of those three criteria, then yes, you have PCOS. And now it's coming down to, why are you forming cysts in your ovaries? And why do you have high testosterone? And why you're not ovulating? And then sugar is one of the culprits. If you have high blood glucose in your system, it's a cycle. The cysts are formed, and then they release testosterone. So then when the testosterone is released, then there's your high testosterone, and insulin resistance and high blood sugar, they go hand in hand. You have that accumulation in your body. So the signal is off somehow. So then they go back and tell your ovaries to produce more cysts. And we find that we just break that cycle. We just lower the blood sugar. Then the cycle is off. The testosterone doesn't like have a chance to get the signal or produce, and then the cysts get smaller. And I'm finding a lot of women, if, and it's hard to tell women, all you have to do is lose weight. It's not just about losing weight. Yes, there's health benefits to losing weight. And, you don't lose weight. Yes, a lot of women try to lose weight because they want to look good. They want to be fit. But it's frustrating if someone's doing what they can. They're going to the gym. Oh, I go to the gym 5 times, 5 times a week, an hour each day. And I do this, I do that, and I hardly eat. And they're not losing the weight. So it's a balance of everything. And for women who are doing that and doing the right things, you test their blood sugar and or A1C. Sometimes A1C can even be normal, but then the insulin is high. So the signal is off, because when insulin's supposed to shuttle the sugar back to your cells. And if the insulin is not hearing it, it's kind of like, how was it explained to me? It's like when your neighbor knocks one time and, hey, do you have any milk? You open the door and you're like, oh yeah, you need milk, here you go. And then he does it again and you're like, okay, so this is 2 days in a row. You want some more milk? Fine. But if your neighbor keeps knocking all the time for whatever things that he should have or they should have, after a while, they're gonna be like, no one's home, or you're gonna pretend you're not home, or you're gonna tell your neighbor, no, you just need to get yourself. So that's with insulin. After a while, it gets resistant to the signals that, nope, I don't care how much sugar you have circulating, I'm not shuttling you to the cells. So then that's how it gets elevated, and how the signals go off. And then of course it's hard to lose weight because your blood sugar is high. And then at the same time, when you eat foods that are spiking your blood sugar that you don't know of, and it keeps spiking, then that's more work for your pancreas, because it's easier for the pancreas just to release insulin at a steady level, as opposed to like revving up the engine every now and then. So then you're not really going anywhere.
Wow, that's a very good explanation of insulin resistance. I think that visual is something that I've needed, because in the past I was told that I had insulin resistance. I think I partially did that to myself too, by, restricting myself and diet, all the fad diets and whatnot. But I think it's also kind of hopeful hearing these explanations, because it's something that like, oh, if it's your testosterone levels or something, these are things that you can control. Like with eating, you can manage your glucose levels, and it could potentially like help the hormones regulate, and then the cysts get smaller. So I think that's pretty fascinating. honestly. So I'm curious if there are any other like anything that might cause infertility or might make it more difficult for people to get pregnant, other than just like the blood glucose thing.
So blood glucose is one that's really famous nowadays. But of course, there's also the male factor that we forget, because then women get blamed for everything.
Yes,
so
we do.
Our fault, our womb cannot handle it, or stuff like that. Or yes, yeah, we produce the egg, but then 40% is male factor infertility, and that's a statistic that no one knows. We're not looking at a rare 5% or 10%. It's 40% is male factor, and it takes two to tango. You need the egg, you need the sperm. You need a healthy egg, and you need really just one good sperm. That's good genetic material. So once that fertilization occurs, then it comes to the job of the woman to make sure that the house is ready, the womb is ready. That's why it's really difficult. I mean, we all want to get pregnant like yesterday, but it takes 70 to 90 days to produce a healthy egg. And that's what everyone should be concentrating on. It's not like, okay, I'll try next month, maybe I'll get pregnant next month. But yet in the meantime, you're taking all kinds of bad stuff. You're giving all this, you're stressed out, you're not sleeping, you're just really being unhealthy, and you want to get pregnant next month. I mean, you could, but then really, if you think about that quality of the egg, is it really good enough to produce a good ovulation, to be fertilized? And then is it good enough that it sent enough signal to your uterus to form that lining that's thick enough for the egg to make a home to implant in? So male, and then aside from the sugar, so then we look at structural causes of infertility. And that's really where you need your team, because you need your Western medicine doctor. You need a surgeon if you have endometriosis, if you have adhesions, or if you have one tube, or if like the shape of your uterus is not if it's like shaped a certain way, it's not going to be able to carry a healthy pregnancy. So that has to be worked up as well. So making sure that all the structural causes are ruled out and fixed. And if it's not fixed, then there's other ways. Technology nowadays, it's amazing. A lot of women, if you don't have fallopian tubes, or if you had your tube side, you can get IVF. It's not natural, but there's ways. Yeah. So then we go back to the ovulation again. Are you like really preparing your body for that healthy ovulation? So I think there's a book called It All Starts with the Egg. I haven't read it, but it's on my to-do list to read, because it makes perfect sense. You can ovulate, or your ovaries can try to ovulate, but if it's not good enough, you'll end up with all these cysts, or the ovulation is not strong enough. And so we measure ovulation with progesterone. So we measure it 7 days after ovulation, which is about day 21 of a normal 28-day cycle. And there are certain parameters that, we're like, oh, okay, you ovulated, but we would have preferred a higher number, or like, obviously it's like 0.05. It's like, sorry, you didn't ovulate this month. And some women ovulate every 3 months or every other month. So you see women that like their children are born in the same month, like a few years, different years, but the same month, because they can kind of track down that, they ovulate like at specific point in their cycle, almost like every year. So then that's when they get pregnant. So really being in tune and knowing your body too. And you don't have to get all the lab work. There's kits now that you can do at home, or you can use at home, like simple ovulation predictor kits. It just measures your LH surge. You just pee on it, and it'll tell you where your peak is. If Is your body getting ready to release the egg? Is it getting there? Is it peaking? Is the line dark? So, and that's part of the things that I did too, that kind of drove myself crazy. I was doing everything. So did that. I was ordering these kits in bulk, because then things got expensive. I'm like, okay, I can't just buy this from the store. Where can I buy these things in bulk? So LH surge kits, and check your basal body temperature. So it's a specific kind of temperature to it. It's not just a regular thermometer. And when I tell all these to my clients, it's so overwhelming. It really is. There's so much more to it. So then I don't really like vomit all this information to them at once. The ones who have been doing this a while, they're like, yeah, I know how to do that. So then I just add on these things like, okay, we can add this because you're ready. You've been researching. So on top of the LH surge kit, you can check your basal body temperature, because it also peaks when you're about to ovulate. So you have this chart, your body temperature when you wake up is low, 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 and then it like peaks up. And then you correlate that to your LH kits that you're peeing on at a certain time of the day. So then you can narrow down your window like, oh, these are the days when I ovulate. You can tell if you ovulate either on cycle day 12 or if you ovulate later, 15 or 16. But it just empowers everyone. It empowers you because you know your body, you know what's happening, and you can time everything. And, for someone who feels helpless already, you need that type. You need something to be able to control. You need the knowledge that you can time certain things and make things happen. So then that's when you get your husband involved. And it's in natural family planning, that's what they do as well. They add in like checking cervical mucus for women who are not wanting to get pregnant, but want to keep their body healthy. So when they're ready, it just happens. And I love it when women do that, because they don't wait until last minute. And then they're like 37, 38. And they're like, well, you lived this whole life of being unhealthy. But yeah, so for women trying to avoid, that's another tool as well. So then you just avoid your fertile days. And there's so many apps nowadays that you can just, these are my symptoms today. This is my temperature. This is my cervical mucus. And it like pretty much packages it up for you. Of course, that's useful after you've had your workup with everyone else and you're getting your body ready and healthy.
Yeah, well, I love that you say that, because I have started natural family planning. I not looking to get pregnant for a little bit, but my mom had said to me, she's done a lot of research and she struggled with infertility as well. So that's something that literally as soon as I turned like 23, she was like, you need to be doing all the things. When I was
mom.
Like, no, yeah, appreciate it now. But when I was like 24 and she's like, should you freeze your eggs? I was like, please stop talking to me. But now I've listened and I've totally learned, like the book that you recommended, it all starts with the egg, of how important it is not to just be thinking about pregnancy when you're ready and you're like, it's go time, but like in months, days, weeks, years in advance, as you said, of getting your body healthy and prepared. And so I've been starting to navigate that and, using the apps to track and the basal body temperature and all that good stuff. But for a lot of our listeners, they're not quite there yet, or they might not even know what basal body temperature is and how that's used. So I was curious to make sure that this episode is super useful to all the women that requested it. Seriously, it was our number 1 or 2 requested topic, considering a lot of our listeners are women our age. That's, happening now or in the future. Do you have any recommendations for them of things that they could start doing now to just start getting their body prepared, being a little bit healthier? As you said, Melissa and I totally acknowledge that everything is individualized and personalized, but a couple useful tips for women like us.
Yep, definitely. Fairly easy. Number one, just get a paper calendar. You don't even need an app. Just track your cycles. Just put on the calendar. I spotted today, or this is my first day of full bleed. Just put it on there. And you don't even have to count, just like the beginning and the end of it. So then after a few months, then you can start, if you're curious, then you can start looking at it. Oh, am I skipping cycles? Am I having cycles every month? Or am I skipping? Am I just having cycles every 3 months? Or how long is my cycle? And how, why is it heavy? I have some women come to me and they're like, something's off. And I'm like, well, what do you mean what's off? They're like, oh, it's just weird. My cycles are weird. But then that's all they can tell me. They can't, they're not like, they can't even tell me what was the date of the first time that they bled for that month, or when they last bled, or what happened. So with that, I actually just gave them a calendar. Here, can you just track that? It may be okay, because it's okay to have, and it's interesting. So cycle, we look at a cycle as 28-day cycles, but really anywhere from like 25 days to 37 is still normal. And that's a big gap. And, women freak out when they're thinking, oh my gosh, it's not like every 30 days anymore. Now it's like becoming every 32 days. And then it goes back down to 30. And that's still okay, because it's still within the parameters. What we don't want is for you just having a cycle like every 60 days or like every 6 months. So that would be the first step. Just know your cycle, know when it's coming, and know the length. And then the second one is, I know everyone preaches water, hydration. Water is life. Really, just make sure you're hydrated. There's so many, I feel like even with technology now, we have so many things that are available to us. It's almost overwhelming. Just get yourself one water bottle, just wherever you work, have one there, have one in the car. So you always have water accessible to you. And 2 is, it's stress level. Actually, there's so many, and it's tricky because you can't see it. You're told that stress is not good for you, but unless you have like your body telling you that it's manifesting, then that's when you start believing it. So one example is, we had a house guest that was like really, really stressing me out. So, and actually I wear, I'm not diabetic, but I wear a CGM, because I like that data. I know I'm supposed to, I have a sweet tooth, and I know I'm supposed to like stay away from ice cream and all that. But it makes me stop when I check it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I really need to stop. I need that feedback. Yeah. So I can make better choices. So maybe I'll add some more nuts to the ice cream, or more protein to whatever I eat. Just really helps me make better choices. So this house guest, and I know, like, I was wondering, like, why is my blood sugar up? It's just up the whole time they were with us. And as soon as I dropped them off to the airport, I checked my blood sugar. It was back down to normal. So like, that is like, really, if people don't believe that stress causes your cortisol to increase, that stress can cause your blood sugar to rise, it's real.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I'm a data nerd too, so I very much appreciate that. But that's like, I think, the perfect example to show that stress. And a common theme that we've been seeing like across all of our guests on the podcast is hydration and stress and sleep pretty much impacts every aspect of your life. No matter, it's the simplest things, but sometimes it's the hardest. I know I struggle with that too, for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely something to focus on. I know we are getting close to time, but there is something I wanted to ask you before we get into our rapid fire questions, because you touched a little bit on this earlier, but how our environments can play a role in our hormone levels and even our fertility. So I'm curious if you could talk about some maybe common environmental toxins or skincare products or anything that contributes to that, and then maybe some alternatives that we could use maybe as quick, like easy improvements around the house.
Yeah. So plastics, BPA, phthalates. I don't have the number. I have to send you that. There's a number that you look at, you know, those triangles underneath the containers. There's specific numbers. I just don't have I forgot it right now, but I'll send it later so you can put it on the show notes. Certain numbers are safe, certain numbers you avoid. But but just to be safe, just switch everything to plastic, because those plastics, they leach on everything. You know, some people heat up their food in those plastic containers. And just simple things is just transfer them to a glass container before you heat them up, or store them in glass containers. And so that's one as far as the kitchen goes. And so for skincare products, interestingly enough, one of the changes that I made was I started looking at my lotion and my shampoo and made sure that they're BPA and phthalate free. So I just use a specific skincare line now. So I told you the story of when I got pregnant the first time. The second time was actually a surprise. We weren't even planning. I was getting my body ready because it was time. My first one was 3 years old. And we're like, well, you know, this is time. We're getting older. We need to try again. So I totally prepped my body to be infertile again. So I treated it like I was infertile, and I was making all these changes. And then I just got pregnant naturally. And when I started spotting, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm spotting. Something's off again. I'm going to go through it again. Yeah, my mind's going to that dark place. And then something deep down inside me, this was 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep. So I was like, gosh, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant. And I think it's because I've already made the changes from after I got pregnant the first time. I had switched a lot of products. I had switched my lotion, my skincare line. Now I'm just really, really careful. Yes, the makeup looks good. It's nice color, but then I go down deeper. Well, if it has all the chemicals, I don't want it, because I'm not trying to get pregnant again, but I don't want any other complications, because now I am taking care of myself for longevity so I can be around for my kids. So laundry detergent, just really be mindful, like not the magic ingredients, the bad ingredients are, make sure they're BPA, phthalate free. And there's more toxins that really, it's too long to list, and it's actually more complicated to write them, but those are the big ones. And there's certain lines now. I'm actually a fan of Beauty Counter. I love it. It's just, and I feel better with it, that I don't have to do all these research looking for other things. I just stick with them, because then they have everything that I need, and I just stick with them. And then for laundry detergent, there are good companies. There's Norwex and there's Pure Haven. That's interesting, because so another story about these products. So you don't believe, right? People don't believe, like, no, it's not my laundry soap. No, it's not this. So I have this favorite pair of pants, and I really love them. I wear them all the time, and I wash them all the time, of course. But then there's a certain smell to it. It doesn't stink, but I'm like, there's a certain smell that I'm trying to get out of it that I couldn't. So then I switched detergents to the good kind. And what the lady told me was, a lot of the chemicals in the dyes and the fragrances in the regular laundry detergents that we use, it actually blocks the fibers. It gets into the fibers of our clothing. That's why no matter how much you wash them, they would still retain that specific odor. I mean, it doesn't stink per se, but I mean, you can tell. So then I'm like, really? So I was not a believer. So then I used her, it was Norwex that I used. So, and after that, my clothes like smelled so clean. And then the odor that I was trying to get out of that, it was gone. So then now it really is true that all these fragrances that we love to smell, the beautiful colors, it's actually working to our disadvantage, because they block the pores. If they block the pores in the fabric that we use, wouldn't it be blocking your pores as well?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so funny because I've had a few friends who have done similar research, found out about switching the laundry detergents and using stainless steel water bottles instead of plastic and all that stuff. And their partners have been like resistant, and we're like, no, but I like this, the way that my laundry smells this way and whatever. And it just like, when you were saying that, I was just like, it's so funny because like, what if it smells even better the natural way? And you just, made that point. So it's just funny, like how people have these conversations when they hear this research and try and figure it out and make these changes, but it's hard going against what you like and what you're used to and the sense that you like. I mean, we are sensual beings who get used to our routines and the way we look and the way we smell and the way things taste. And so it's so hard getting out of those routines to try, but I'm so glad in your experience that you did try and it ended up being so much more positive. And I love that we're ending the full interview on a good story and some really tangible tips that I think are going to help so many women, as you said, if they're trying to get pregnant or just for longevity, because we're here for the long game. But really wanted to know, as we start to close out, you've given us so much advice, so many good nuggets of wisdom, and I just have loved hearing your story. So our first rapid fire question is, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting their health journey today?
Always keep moving forward. Never accept that, oh, I'm just always going to be this way. I'm just broken and I can't do anything about it, because there's always something you can do about it. And the first thing you can do about it is to take care of yourself. No matter how defeated you feel, just like I said, look at the clock, time yourself, feel bad for yourself for 1 minute, and then get up and move forward.
I love that. What do you think the future of health looks like?
I think it's depends on how you look at it. I choose to look at it where there's more and more providers, practitioners now that are learning about functional medicine and integrative medicine, because before it's like, nope, Western medicine and this, and we don't like you and we don't like you either. But now it's starting to come together. There's a lot more Western medicine trained doctors that are learning about these other testing. And the only thing I wish for is that insurance would cover it, but some of the testings insurance won't cover. So that's one wish that I hope that would go that way. But if not, I mean, all is not lost. There's other things, there's other ways around it that we can do. So yeah, I think it's looking really good, and a lot more people are coming together. There's health coaches and nutritionists and acupuncturists. We're all starting to work together as a team for the common good, and a lot more people being more proactive with their health. They're not like waiting to be sick until they get medicine. They're looking into foods as medicine. They're like, some women are, I don't want to get pregnant, but I want my body to be healthy. Or some people, they're like, I don't want to wait. Because like I was working as inpatient, I was working in the hospital and I've seen a lot of sick people. And like for me, I'm like, I do not want to get to that point. And if there's something, that you can do about it, then it's prevention. Prevention is always key.
Yeah, I think that I agree that that is definitely a space that we're moving into. I think that as chronic illness is just running rampant, people are starting to see like, okay, I need to take a hard look at my lifestyle choices, my habits, my environment, and really think about, the future that I want for myself and my family. So I too think that the future looks a lot more like prevention and people taking ownership. And I'm excited to see what's to come, especially, like you said, a bunch of practitioners coming together and realizing that health is about a whole person, not just one specialist, one aspect, but really truly looking at you and your environment. And so I'm so grateful for practitioners like you who are really asking the tough questions, administering the tests, and taking a look at someone, mind, body, soul. So we've loved having you and would just love for you to tell our listeners how they can connect with you and where they can find you if they would like to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing is I'd like to give everyone a gift. If they go to fertilityboostingfoods.com, that will give you a document to take care of the 3 systems, whether you're trying to get healthy for longevity or getting your body healthy for pregnancy. It gives you the systems that you need to focus on, and with suggestions of the foods that you can eat. With that, so they'll be on my mailing list. And when I open up my program, because we got pregnant to have kids, so I need to make a lot of space for my family and my kids, and I only have specific amount of time. So I only open my program every now and then. And when I do, then you'll hear about it. Then we can work together. Or you can just, when you're on my mailing list, you can just send me an email. I answer my emails if you have specific questions, or if you just want to chat to see how I can help you. You can do that as well. And I just love helping women. I love building families. And I believe that every woman should just be healthy. We get blamed for everything, and what we can the best we can do for ourselves is take ownership and be healthy. That way we can function the way we want to and be happy on our own, right?
Yes, I love that. And I think this website is going to be great. I know I'm definitely going to look at it, and we'll link all of this information in the show notes for our listeners.
Thank you. Love chatting with you, ladies.
Yeah,
having you.
Took so many notes, and I'm just really excited to share this with our community. So thank you so much.